Meta reporting a beat on the top and bottom lines for the third quarter. Despite having a solid quarter, though, the stock has been falling, and it might be because investors are getting tired of all the spending. From where we're bringing in Brent Thill, senior analyst at Jefferies. And Brent, like we said, CapEx seems to be the catalyst for why shares are moving to the downside here. But these hyperscalers, they're not going to stop spending on AI, right? So as an investor, how do you assess how much is too much? Is it spending relative to revenues, spending relative to free cash flow? What are you looking at there?
Yeah, I think just tech is down today, not necessarily on the results, but it's on the clearing of the deck ahead of next week. Number of big macro things that are going on with the election and the Fed meeting. So what we're seeing on our desk is not necessarily fear of Microsoft or Meta massive miss. It's more a broader issue that's going on. So just set the stage. But you're right on CapEx. That is the central focus. But I think when you start to see the type of returns we're seeing in all the hyperscalers, if you look at the CapEx invested to their backlog or bookings, they're equal, if not bigger, on the booking number. So that means more businesses coming in than they're spending. When you start to look at some of the AI numbers now, you can start to measure like real revenue, right? Microsoft said $10 billion of revenue, fastest business to $10 billion in the company's history. We're early in the innings of this. So I think investors got to step back. It is the number one question. You're asking the right question. But I do think that there are effectively proxies and past history statements that elements that have shown that when Microsoft spent on Azure, was that a good return? When they spent on the server business, was that a good return? And even when Zuckerberg, 5-6 years ago, was in Congress, and they came out a couple years after and said, hey, we're going to spend, that was the right thing to do and spend, and the stock is higher. So I think we use historic context, we use kind of current frameworks. We're seeing already all these hyperscaler backlogs, the growth rates and the cumulative revenue exceed that of the AI CapEx investments. Now, not all these investments are broken on AI, but we've looked at it a lot of different ways. And also, like, you have NVIDIA and Microsoft at 30 times earnings. They're not 30 times revenue like Palantir. That's unsustainable, okay? These are multiples that aren't crazy. So again, for Meta, you can get $30 of earnings power, put a 25 multiple on it, and have a way higher stock price from here.
And
so I understand.
Go ahead, Brent. Sorry.
We think we have a good answer of what's happening.
And Brent, so for Meta specifically, how is AI already impacting the business? Walk us through what's already showing up.
Well, it's showing up for you as an end user. So there are 3 billion people that come to the platform every day, and AI is helping us as consumers find the appropriate content, understand what's relevant. Perhaps we're interested in skiing or golf, or we're interested in baseball, and understanding, how that can gear the right content towards us. And then also tying, big thing for me is commerce. Like I buy half my wardrobe off of Instagram. And so, if you're Grayson, which is a great, clothing brand targeted towards golfers, like Grayson, knows who I am. Like they on Instagram are targeting me all the time. And so I'm constantly buying new things probably I don't need. And it's because they're so targeted in their approach with their ads. And so I just go back to, for consumers, you're going to have better content, you're going to have better commerce experiences, you're going to have better overall experiences. For the advertisers, the small businesses that are on the platform, it makes it easier for them to create a campaign. So if you're an interior designer and you own a small store like my wife does in San Francisco, she can create a campaign for a sidewalk sale. We're having a sale on couches, blankets, pillows. And oh, by the way, instead of hiring someone to do a photo shoot and bring a bunch of new photos and videos and music and everything, you hit the button and you upload all the pictures from last year's sidewalk sale, and it'll basically create the campaign for you at a fraction of that human being you'd have to hire to shoot the shoot to drive the advertising campaign. So, I mean, there's already examples of this already working, and they've said this in terms of the Meta AI having an uplift in terms of time spent, Meta AI having an uplift in terms of transactions and ROI for advertisers. I could go on for hours about the experiences that people are having. But again, that's why you're seeing 20% revenue growth. That's why you see a 40% margin. And overall, again, I think the spending is working, and I understand the fear. But again, it's a fear across everyone, not just for Meta.
So Brent, when we zoom out and look across the board for all these tech companies besides just Meta, I keep hearing how the AI revolution is a generational opportunity. Which companies are best positioned to take advantage of that opportunity? And is it a situation where you should be owning all of them, or should you be a little bit more selective?
Our thesis on AI is threefold. You need users, data, and capital. And the only companies you can count on one hand how many companies have that opportunity. Right? And if you think about it, it's Microsoft, Amazon in enterprise, Meta and Google in consumer. You have NVIDIA, who's creating the next generation on obviously the infrastructure and chip side. You have just a couple networking companies that have solved this, like ANET, Arista Networks. You have, there's only a few companies that really have this dialed in. And all you have to do is look at some of the results, whether ASML, AMD, look at who doesn't have the next generation, and you're looking at what's happening to those stocks. Again, we think that the list is shorter. There are going to be opportunities for new vendors. Obviously, OpenAI in the private market. You look at, I've said this repeatedly. I use Perplexity every day. I'm addicted. My wife says put it down. I use Perplexity every day to solve answers. You think about there's going to be other great private stories that come up, but the list is short because each one of those has to have users, data, and capital. And this is not a game for vendors that have a few dollars. Like, this is $1 billion game, and you see it with Meta, Microsoft, Amazon. I mean, Microsoft and Amazon are going to spend $80 billion in CapEx next year, 80. So $160 billion between the two. Not many companies can keep up with that.
Brent, always good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.